Without further ado, this afternoon we have two speakers to begin. Ann Marcotte is with Legal Aid of Nebraska Elder Law Access Line. She's an attorney. She's an Omaha native and a graduate of Boston College and Creighton University Law School. Ann has been with Legal Aid for 7 years, and she recently returned to the practice of law after operating a small business for a while. And I'm sure no business is small, so that's probably an understatement. Taylor Goetzinger is joining us via Zoom. She's a paralegal at LawNY and a member of the LawNY.org team at Pro Bono Net, supporting the New York City-based team's consideration and service of Central and Western New York. She joined Pro Bono Net full-time and spent the next 5 years developing her understanding of the needs of legal services providers and her skills in project management, product development, and relationship management. She has a BS from Cornell University in policy analysis and management with a concentration on social welfare policy and a minor in inequality studies. Please help me welcome both of our next speakers.
I'm going to work on that. Okay, Taylor, I'm going to go ahead and pull up your stuff, but while I'm working on that, oh my goodness, how did I do that again? I know there was an easy way to do it. Oh, stop sharing. And I have to go back to Zoom. Share. Craziness. Okay, awesome. So, I'm going to do a really quick intro for my part. So, I am the Legal Assistance Developer, Anita Weiskup, with the State Unit on Aging. And part of my job is to oversee the legal risk detector. When I came on initially just back in the end of May, the legal risk detector had already been implemented and started. So, the reason that we are presenting this today is because this is a really important tool, and we are looking out there to see who of you or who you might know that might be possible people that might like to use the legal risk detector. So this is going to be an introduction to it. I am going to let Ann Marcotte and Taylor take over because they're kind of like the hands-on, behind the scenes people who do all the important work. I'm just like a tiny little peon comparatively. So please go ahead, Ann and Taylor.
Taylor, I think you're going to take it away first, and I'll pick up where you leave off.
Okay, that works. Thank you so much. It's great to be here today. I will start by introducing what the legal risk detector is and who made the legal risk detector, and then I will also be giving you a live demo of the tool and talking about some recommended practices when using the tool to help a person that you're serving. And also Ann will be joining and giving some information about the types of legal services that are available at Legal Aid of Nebraska. So we can go to the training agenda slide.
Oh, you want me to help you with that? Is it your slide, Taylor?
No.
Is it my slide? This one?
Yeah, that one. Perfect. Okay.
I just gave you control too, I think.
Perfect. Okay, I think that should work. Yes, it's working. Okay, great. So the previous slide covers what I just went over about the agenda for our time today. And so I'm going to jump into the project partners and goals. So the Legal Aid of Nebraska, Pro Bono Net, and also Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services collaborated to develop this tool to make sure that the legal issues that are represented in this online interview tool are representative of the issues that they're seeing the people they're helping face in your communities. So I'm going to pass over to Ann to share a bit about Legal Aid of Nebraska and as a partner of this development.
Okay. And so since this is an elder training, so we consider elders at Legal Aid of Nebraska 60 years of age or older. So when you call the Elder Access Line, what we do is we income qualify you. We ask you some income questions, asset questions. If you happen to be over asset or over income, we can still give advice, but we just can't send on your case to have an attorney help you. We have a few exceptions with funding, evictions. We can help you if you're over income. I can write some wills and for veterans. But as far as Legal Aid of Nebraska, we are the largest nonprofit law firm in the state. We handle civil legal matters, and as you can see, evictions, utility shutoffs, collection issues, bankruptcy. We help with unemployment, Social Security denials, terminations, denial of Medicaid, and protection order hearings for victims of domestic violence. So,
Thank you. Do you have more to add, Ann?
well, I think we're going to get into it later
Yeah.
after you explain what happens once somebody completes the risk detector, when it lands at Legal Aid, and how we go and approach it from there.
Okay, perfect. So how does the risk detector fit into the services that Ann was just describing? So the risk detector is a web-based legal health checkup tool that helps non-lawyers screen older adults for common legal issues they might be facing. And if they are facing a legal issue, connects those people with Legal Aid of Nebraska after they've given their consent for their information to be transferred to Legal Aid of Nebraska. So this is why we need something like the legal risk detector. Research tells us that people don't always identify legal issues as legal in nature, and often issues that are impacting older adults go unnoticed or unreported for a variety of reasons. Sometimes older adults have the most interaction with social service providers in communities and outreach settings. And these settings are typically difficult for legal aid attorneys to reach, and difficult for people to reach legal aid attorneys, vice versa. We also know that people often reach out first to trusted service providers, not lawyers, when they're experiencing a life-affecting issue with a legal aspect. So the risk detector helps because it facilitates a conversation between someone who's not a lawyer, let's say you in the room, and it would help you identify legal problems and connect the people with legal help in a warm referral way, like a handoff of that information. It immediately connects older adults who have high-risk legal issues with legal assistance and resources, and it also helps remove the stigma of contacting an attorney because the person has the opportunity to talk with a trusted member of their community or a service provider they've already had interactions with, and they don't have to go through what we know can sometimes be a difficult experience reaching out, admitting you need legal help. Like admitting you need any kind of help is sometimes hard. So we have some user feedback from previous phases of this project. The first thing that we did was we worked together to develop the script, DHHS, and Legal Aid of Nebraska, and Pro Bono Net. And Pro Bono Net has about 15 states using this tool. So we provide technology expertise and also just help people know what aging and caring networks are doing around the country to support people in getting legal help. So this user feedback is from the pilot phase of this project, and you can see that, I'll just read from the slide. What has me surprised and has stuck with me are the amount of my clients who are actually in need and feel like they have nowhere to turn. Their excitement for this program was shocking. The easiest part was telling the clients about the survey and what may come of it. Even the clients that were not at risk were joyful for the ones who will be able to use this type of service. And lastly, the clients expressed hardships to me at the time of the survey that I would not have learned otherwise. So now I'm going to go into a demo of the tool. Would you be able to stop sharing your screen in the room or share the link that I put in the chat?
I'm gonna stop
Oh,
sharing.
try the chat.
Okay.
Go to the chat.
Okay.
Can you get to?
Did she get out of order? Is that what happened? Looks like she got out of order.
Okay.
She's got it, I think.
Oh,
Okay. Do you want me to stop sharing?
are you sharing?
Yeah, now I'm sharing.
Okay, I'm gonna go out then.
Okay. Okay, so what's great about the risk detector is it's just a website. Anybody can access it. You don't have to have like a special software on your phone. You could use it on a tablet or a mobile phone by just using this web address. The first thing you'll get to is this landing page. You can explain to the person at that point. This is a screening tool to detect potential legal issues, and we're going to talk about housing, debt, financial exploitation, healthcare, and abuse. Those are the common legal topic areas that this will get into. So you'll click Begin Interview. We ask that you read this disclaimer to the individual that establishes that this interview does not constitute as legal advice, and that if they choose at the end, they can be connected to Legal Aid of Nebraska, and that Legal Aid Nebraska at that time would follow up to do additional screening. If you're going to a place where there's not good internet, you can download a paper version of this interview by clicking this link. It will open up a paper PDF. It'll download. You can print it and take it with you. And when you get back to the office or your home office, when you're back by internet, you can go click here to upload a paper interview, and you can upload that paper version, which would serve the same purposes as if you had good internet access and were able to proceed through every screen. If you're in a place with good internet service, you're good to go, and the person agrees to this disclaimer, you're good to go to click next. The first question here is about you as the service provider. So you're going to enter your information as a service provider. And then we have a drop down here for the organizations that we provided training for to use the tool. And if your organization is not listed and you'd like to be listed, we can add you. And also if you'd like a training specifically for your organization, we can do that too. And then we get into questions about the client. Do they rent or own their home, and what best describes where the client lives now? And for these questions are here because it kind of does some branching in the interview. Based on if someone rents or owns, they could have different legal issues. If they're in a house or an apartment building or assisted living facility, they could also be facing different legal issues. So if they select those choices, there's some different questions that will be on the next screen. Then you'll get to this screen, and this version, we called this our unified version. It's where all the topics are on one screen, which is a really nice, easy way to get a sense of how long this is going to take you. So you see here, I'm scrolling through all the topics listed. When you're with the person, you can feel free to reword the statements if that's helpful, or you can discuss things. Like the whole point is a conversation happens that you wouldn't have otherwise. So for housing, for example, you go through these statements with the individual and ask if any of them are true. I'm getting evictions, threats, or notices from my landlord. I've been discharged or threatened to be discharged from my facility against my wishes. I do not have a written lease with my landlord. I'm behind on my rent payments. All of these are not necessarily a legal issue, one in and of itself, but they do indicate that there may be a legal issue at hand. And that's why it's called the risk detector, because these indicate the person is at risk of experiencing a legal issue. When you select these items, you can click right on the statement itself. If you want, you can line up your cursor and click the box, but I always like that one pro tip of you can just click on anywhere on the statement. That's a pretty big target to hit. So when you do, you'll notice a box came up for notes. And so let's say the person said, oh yeah, I did sign some papers regarding my home and I'm not sure what I signed. I was at the bank and I just signed it. So that would be indicating this statement is true, and you could be like, okay, tell me more about that, and whatever they tell you, you could provide here. Like what I just said, like, I signed some papers at the bank. I think they said housing note. That information then will be part of this report, and then you can go on to the next section and do the same thing. Regarding your credit card bills, your credit cards, bills, and income, are any of these true? I'm being sued for money they say I owe, my wages are being garnished, I'm 30 days behind on paying a credit card bill, a medical bill, or other debts. I've gotten letters about money I owe. I'm concerned about something on my credit report. I want to declare bankruptcy. You can also select none of the above, or you can select I have another problem or concern related to debt if none of these statements quite described it. There's similar statements for financial exploitation. Things like I do not have full access to my money. I'm concerned about my joint bank account. Someone has been reviewing my financial papers. I have questions regarding a power of attorney or need to change my power of attorney. I've been getting calls, mails, or emails about money, investments, prizes, or other offers. Healthcare concerns. I do not have health insurance. I need help with Medicaid. I was told I don't qualify for Medicaid. Again, a list of statements about some healthcare concerns that could lead to legal issues or be a legal issue in and of themselves. And then there's also a section about abuse and neglect. And for these questions, we tried to word them in a way that makes the conversation as easy as something like this could be. For example, we have someone is supposed to prepare my food, but they're not doing it like they should, or they're supposed to help me get dressed, but they're not doing it like they should. And obviously this is a sensitive subject, and if you were in a place where you didn't feel like this conversation was safe for the individual to have at the time, you can always skip any of these sections that you need to. There's also an other concerns section where if there's some issue that wasn't listed above, let's say for example like a family issue, so they want to adopt their grandchild or something like that, that doesn't mean like I'm not saying Anne is necessarily able to help with any of these issues. She can get into that later, but this is where you could put something like that. Other concerns, they want to adopt their grandchild. And you think that might be legal in nature, you could put that there. Okay, then we're done with those questions. You get to a review screen. You have an opportunity to review anything that you selected as true, also the notes that you included, or sections that had nothing selected. Also, there's an indication about that. You can go back and change any of the answers you want, or you can click I'm satisfied and go forward. At that point, you will ask the client for their consent to transmit this report to Legal Aid of Nebraska. And it says, until you are determined to be eligible and your case is accepted, there is no attorney-client relationship. Do I have your permission to send your report, which includes your information and answers, to Legal Aid of Nebraska? At this point, the person can say yes or no, and they also can ask to get a copy of their report via email. So let's say they're like, I don't want to initiate that today, but I do want a copy of this report so I can keep thinking about it. You could select no to consent, yes to receive a copy, and then the information will all be there in the report. And the person at the closing screen will get information about how to reach out to Legal Aid of Nebraska on their own if they wish at a later point. So I'm going to say yes, the person consents to the information being transmitted electronically and they understand that there's no attorney-client relationship at this time. And this question is like, does the service provider want a copy of the email? I'm going to say yes, I do for my records. Then next, this is where now that they've consented to their information being shared, now we collect their personal information. But up until this point, you'll notice this tool collected no personally identifying information. So this is where you put information about the client. Want to make sure that it's okay to leave a voicemail and send text messages. And if they have an email address that's safe, meaning they're okay with receiving email from Legal Aid of Nebraska at that email, you can put that in here. This information is for This information is for the intake process. So this is income information and household information, which helps Legal Aid of Nebraska determine if the person is eligible for services under certain grants. And then we also, DHHS is interested in some additional information about if this person is able to leave home with or without assistance, if the person has access to various types of technology like a landline, smartphone, or computer with internet access. As we develop more technological tools to serve people, it's important that we know if people actually have this access to these kind of tools, or if we need to think through other ways to help people get access to services using technology, like library kiosks. Okay, another question, do you have means of transportation? Yes, I have my own means. I take public transportation. No, I have no means of transportation. Why do you have no means of transportation? I don't drive anymore. Something like that. Do you need assistance applying for social services or public benefits programs? This will help us know later down the road if they need some additional information about this, or if there's potentially a legal issue connected to benefits. And then if they are, if there is an adverse party, meaning if there's someone who would be the opposing party in the legal issue, for example, say they're having an issue with their landlord would be the opposing party. So if they're able to identify it and you're able to identify it, you put that information in there. If not, you can say unknown. But if you are able to put the best guess in there, then that will help with the conflict screening that Legal Aid of Nebraska needs to do. Okay. There's an opportunity to upload photos or paperwork, which you would also probably do a photo of paperwork. Or if you had a PDF version, you can do that too. You can include notes, like not including photos at this time, but they do have pictures of the repairs issues that we cited earlier or something like that. Okay, and this is the final screen of the interview where you get a report. You have the opportunity here to download a PDF version or a Word version of the report. There'll be a date, there'll be the service provider's information up here, and then there'll be the client information here, their address. We said they rent their home, they have a household income of $40,000. Oh, that was monthly, but okay. Good to know for you all when you're doing this. This is monthly income, not annual. And then the adverse party information shows up here. This is says it's a very high risk because of the number of issues that were selected. So in this scenario, like if someone was alarmed by this risk meter, you could say like, this is saying that like you're at high risk of experiencing a legal issue based on the number of risk flags that we identified today. It doesn't mean you're at high risk of anything other than that. It just means that you're very likely experiencing a problem that's legal in nature. Then also there's a resource list which would be provided to anyone who completes this interview that includes all of the services that we knew of when making this tool. We, me, being Legal Aid of Nebraska and DHHS, created this resource list of the different services that are available to people throughout the counties. So this is kind of like you don't walk away from this interview empty-handed no matter what, and also it's just like any touch point you can to strengthen the network around people. We want to capitalize on that. The next step says this report has been sent to Legal Aid of Nebraska, where it will be reviewed by senior staff members who will take appropriate follow-up action based on the findings indicated here. So the person should expect a call back from Legal Aid of Nebraska, and that's the next thing that we will cover in our PowerPoint. Okay.
Taylor, we only have about 5 minutes left, so.
Okay. I'm gonna pass over to you.
Okay, that would be a good point. Okay, so once that, does anybody have any questions really quickly about the questionnaire? So once that's completed, it's emailed to Legal Aid of Nebraska, and the email is monitored by 3 attorneys all day long, so we can tell if something's urgent, it's red. We put it on the callback list as an emergency, and one of our paralegals calls right away. The other calls are put on our callback list, but they're called within 24 hours. So then it's just like any other referral to legal aid. We make sure there's not a conflict. We income qualify them. And if that works, even if there's over income, they're a client at that point, attorney-client privilege. At the very least, we can give advice. If they qualify to be sent on to one of our local offices, to our housing unit, family, debt, and public benefits, we send that case on and attorney calls them, and then they're going to be represented. The reason why we are promoting this is because ordinarily the way to contact Legal Aid of Nebraska to make an application is to call our central intake unit. So we have 2 paralegals that handle that for everybody across the state. So this is a way to bypass the line, get ahead of the queue. And we've been tracking this for a couple years now, and we get about 10 a month. So we have capacity to have people come in through the back door. That's why we're promoting it, especially for elders who may be a little reticent about meeting with an attorney or not really thinking their problem can have a legal solution. So we really encourage, if you're at all interested, to sign up for this because we definitely have capacity to help. Any quick questions about legal aid?
Yes, there's one online question that says, can legal aid assist a client with a divorce?
We can. We definitely, we have funding and priorities. We usually take divorces that involve some form of recent and severe domestic violence. But otherwise, we can give attorney referrals. There are instances where there are no issues where we can give advice about filing pro se without a divorce. And tons of resources that we can provide them with.
If they don't answer right away, is that just the one call that you do?
No, for emergencies, we try several times throughout the day. Yes, we do
clients
callbacks.
do not answer.
Exactly, and it does come up legal services, so it won't come up, spam type. So it will say legal services, so.
Is that resource list updated fairly often?
Oh, yes, yep, and like we have a collections handbook that's updated with the most recent laws, yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Can Taylor give us a couple of examples of people who are different agencies or groups who use the legal risk detector? Because currently we have the AAA area agencies on aging. They're the ones who we kind of piloted this out to. That's why we're looking out into the community for other partners so that we can continue to reach out to our elders. So Taylor, for people you've worked with, who are some other groups who use the legal risk detector?
In other states?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in other states, we have ombudsman's programs, we have other healthcare workers, AAAs are very common, and we just recently presented to a group, like a network of caregivers as well.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Taylor and